Hello everybody, this is Japhet from the Art of Trading, and I'm right here coming in hot with a tutorial video that I quickly made for you guys to show you how I chart, as you can tell with the title of the video below. And yeah, welcome to the channel once again, and let me just quickly bring you guys this tutorial, and I hope you guys could pick up something from it. And if you do, don't forget to hit that thumbs up and definitely subscribe for more content like this, more tutorials coming up. And for this video, we will see the tools that I commonly use for my daily trading, the ones that I mainly use when I do those analysis, the daily top 10. When I do those analysis, I chart, and as you could see, I will be explaining how I use trend lines, the arrows, the rectangles that I use for support, and you will be able to see that in the next few minutes. So once again, if you are new to the channel, please make sure that you click that subscribe button. Helps a lot, and that thumbs up as well helps a lot as well, in order to get us more exposure, and hopefully more people can learn how to read the charts and how to chart like I prefer to do. So let's get right on the video. So here we are on my Investagrams account, and I just want to give a quick shout out to my Investagram account, and if you haven't followed it yet, go drop a follow. It should be somewhere here if you're viewing this, but we're here right now to show you how I chart, and let's get right into it. But first, we have to get to our charting section. If you don't know already, you have to click this part right here, and you have to click chart. So it loads up right here, and what I like to do, since I already have a chart saved, I would first load up my chart. And if you're new to Investagrams, you're gonna have a basic chart that looks like this, with no indicators, or maybe you have, I think you have volume, I think, as a default, so you should be able to see that. But you know me, I don't use indicators or anything, and I just read my candlesticks and plot my analysis or my whatever trend lines by myself. I don't use those moving averages or anything. I just plot them myself. And as I've said in this video, we would be talking about how I chart and how I go through with my day-to-day thing when it comes to Investagrams and charting for a specific stock. So let's say I'm looking at a stock, a specific stock. If you have watched my previous videos, you should be able to get an idea of how I chart, but we're gonna be talking about it more in depth right here. So as you see, if I'm going through a stock, for example, and I'm looking at a famous one or a trending one, I would go to the top trades, and we see here we have one of these few stocks, and let's say I go into it. We'll just use PSEI as an example because we can clearly see great price movements or great candlestick movements, price action movements as well. But this is applicable to any stock that you go into because they're all made up of candlesticks and all those data. So yeah, let's get right into my step-by-step charting, I guess, like how I chart. So first, when I look at a chart like this, I see all these movements, right, of the candlesticks, and at first it might look like it's very complicated and you don't know how to read it. But if you go to my Instagram or my Instagram page, which will be linked up in the bio, I talked about there a little bit how to read candlesticks. You know, on a green candlestick, you open at the bottom, close to the top, and if it's a red one, you you open at the top, close at the bottom, and then the wicks are the highs and the lows for every candle. So for me, this is like second nature now. I've been charting for a while now, and I've developed sort of like a workflow when I chart. So if I'm seeing a chart for the first time, let's say I load up a specific company and load my charts, first thing I'm gonna do is identify where the resistances have been, and I like to use this trend line right here. I think you can find it right here, trend line tools, I've already favorited my most used tools. So I'm gonna first use my trend line to plot my resistances. I like to, look at the price ceilings. This is another ceiling, but for me to be able to plot my resistances, I like to start with the very first resistance that we saw where the price bounced off downwards. And so thus I put my trend line from this point right there where it got rejected, of course. And and so you see, I use my trend line. I use a red one to indicate that that is a ceiling, that's a resistance that you have to break for the price to go up, and for the price to break out. So I like to look at my highest points first, and then I proceed to go on to use one of these. I think this is a rectangular box, which when you draw, you could create like some sort of a range. So if I'm drawing support, I use this box right here, this orange box. I change the color. You can basically change whatever color you want, however you want it to look. But for me, I like orange. You might probably you might be able to tell by my logo right here. It's orange. I like orange. It's just easy on my eyes. So if I'm looking at support, I am using a rectangle as my support range, because it's never perfect where the support's gonna be, because sometimes, as you can see here, it could pierce through but bounce back up, and then like this, it just touched it for a little bit and then bounce back up. So for me, if I'm looking at the support, where did it first drop off? For me, if it was rallying up here and then it had a first pullback, I'm looking at this as a support, first support. So if I charted this last November, this would be my main support. But we're 2 months away from that, and I was able to just extend this from this area when it first had a support, and as you can see, it's holding it quite well. So I like to draw my support range where it has 1, 2, or 3 at least touches, and that's why I put my price range right here and right here, and make sure that it touches those specific areas where we see huge bounces on the upside. And then the same with the resistance, we saw where prices bounced off from and then went downhill from that. So I'm looking at that as a proper resistance. And so that's how I draw support. I look at where it first bounced off from, or like first pullback on this massive uptrend. You already know an uptrend creates higher highs and higher lows, so thus you see this uptrend right here. And speaking of the next tool that I use, the arrows, I like to use this. This is from one of these right here. You can find it right here. The arrows. I like to use the arrows to tell or to show myself what the trend is, since I don't use these moving averages. If you use some of those indicators, some people use it. I personally don't, but some people use that to tell themselves what the direction is or what the trend is. So for myself, I use this trend line to tell myself that, oh, we're creating higher lows right here. So I chart that, I connect that, and as you can see, and I think I've mentioned this in my previous posts if you've been following me, our uptrend has been broken and it was consolidating. The faces of the market changed. It used to be on an uptrend from October to December, but then it suddenly broke that trend but found support. So we saw ourselves in a range or a consolidation phase right here. So just to recap, we identified the resistance first, and then identified the support, depending on the current phase of the market, which is consolidation. And then I look at the trends. Right here. There was a long-term uptrend, and then I knew that it changed, so I disregarded the uptrend because we are way past that. And so now, last week, I think I was looking at this as a potential downtrend, but as we can see, there I'm using the arrows right here to signalize a short-term downtrend. But as you can see, since last week, we were able to break that and retest this resistance, which was unfortunately rejected right up here, and then the prices went back down. So yeah, we're seeing a pullback for sure, and we are still counting on this resistance, not disregarding it, because the price tested, like today, look, the price just tested that resistance but did not happen to break above it yet. So yeah, so next up, the tool that I use sometimes. These are some of the few tools that I use. If you see me on the daily top 10, if you've been watching those, I sometimes put text to signal, just to remind myself that we were creating higher lows right here on this area, and then I would put more higher lows, so it could be a reminder for myself that yes, the market is rallying up, and we work on definitely an uptrend. So yes, those are my main tools. I don't use too much, and let's say I use this long position as well, which you could find right here for my entries. If I want to plot my entries, let's say I bought a stock at this price point right here. I would usually use this to chart my potential gains, how many percent I'm gonna gain on the upside that I'm looking to gain, and then I'm looking at my maximum tolerable percentage loss on the downside. And yeah, there you could see the percentage that you're willing to lose for your position, and I will expound more on this on the upcoming videos, how I do my risk management. But yeah, this is one of the other tools that I mainly use. So I plot the entry right here. It shows right here, let's say it's 6,900 entered there, and I'm hoping to I'm only risking maybe 3-4% on the downside, and then hoping to gain maybe 2 to 3 risk reward right here. Let's say a 3 risk reward ratio. So yeah, I'm hoping for the prices to reach my target price. That's how I plot my target prices if I'm buying a stock. But yeah, these are the 7 tools. This is a quick I can't speak, but yeah, this is a quick tutorial for you guys to see a little bit how I chart in depth. And for example, I guess let's go on a real life example. Let's say one of these trending stocks, right? As I mentioned, I would sort by the most traded stock. That would give us the most volatility, and thus making it a trending stock, and people are talking about it. So we have PHA right here. So I'm looking at PHA. As I've said, I would do my resistance first, and so I would plot it with my handy dandy trend line. I would use this for how do you call this? For an indicator that yes, that is the ceiling. I like to include my wicks, because if you go to a lower time frame, there's definitely a candle there that touched that price point. But I like to chart my stuff on the 4-hour time frame, which is also the daily time frame, because we only have a 4-hour market. So yeah, I like to include the end of the wick as my resistance, and then once again, I said the next thing we should do is find a support. So we were seeing like a rally on the upside. So, and then the most recent down or pullback was this area right here. So I'm looking potentially in the future for the prices to just play along this range, maybe if this does pull back and not break out just yet. So if I'm looking at this, immediate support, there you go. That's how I find support. But maybe if we go to a lower time frame, we would see more story right here. we could also find another level of support right here. There you go. I was touched once, twice, so I can count that as my immediate support. And then if I'm looking at this again, moving to my next tool that I like to use, on this step-by-step guide, I like to use my trend line. So I was seeing a trend line right here that was, respected. That was respected for like once, twice, 3 times until it just went parabolic. It just exploded out of the whole range. And so that's why I categorize this stock a very dangerous stock to get into if you are looking to buy here, because the prices have come really far up from the main support that we had before this entire rally. So before we were looking at this range, we were holding this small movements right here, small upward movements, and then out of nowhere it just exploded. So yeah, I plot my trend lines, and then I use my arrows to see, yes, we are on an uptrend because it's pointing up. And yeah, that's how I mainly do it. And then if I want to do if I go down to my lower time frames to figure out my entries, I would be like, oh wow, there is a downtrend right here. I think I talked about this on my how do you call this, my analysis a few days ago, and there was also a downtrend right here, which was, if we go to a smaller time frame, look, it gives more context. The faster the time frame, the more candles you'll see, the more context you will have in terms of price action. And look, we saw downtrend, and then if I'm gonna plot this, we are definitely seeing a very steep uptrend right here. So yeah, those are the tools that I like to use. My most used tools are the trend line, the arrow, and then this rectangular box. And then I like to use my long position to calculate the percentage gains that I could potentially have. And then I use the text box sometimes. I use the brush to draw if I'm too lazy to use the arrows for potential movements. I could just quickly draw it with that. And then sometimes I use this. This is one of my least used tools, to be honest, the horizontal ray, because it just goes all the way into eternity. If you keep scrolling to the right, it'll just keep going. So I'm not particularly, fond of that. But yeah, those are my most used tools. I hope you guys picked up something from this quick tutorial that I put up, and I will see you guys in the next one. But for now, remember to stay patient, be disciplined, and keep striving to be consistent. This is Japhet from the Art of Trading, coming at you with quick tutorial videos, and I'll see you guys on the next one.